Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you today at this last session focused on cybersecurity skills and awareness, the essential missing ingredient. As you all know by now, cybersecurity is an issue that goes much beyond technology. We speak about people, we speak about processes, we speak about technology, but at the heart of all this are us human beings creating, using, or exploiting technology. With this, I find that today's discussion very, very topical, seeing the increase of cybersecurity attacks and errors, the exploiting errors in the technical configuration. Here we speak about the issue of cybersecurity skills. We also see increase during COVID, of sudden increase of working from home, and many of the cyber attacks are targeting those workers that still are new and lack awareness of how to protect themselves online. Here with us today we have two experts, two experts in security training and awareness, who would share their perspectives of how well we manage this secure society in Europe, and also what we should do next. It is my pleasure for you to present to you Janice Richardson, who is the CEO of Insight. Hello, Janice.
Hello.
And the second expert is Csaba Virag, who is Guardtime's head of competence building, but he would represent today ECSO, the European Cybersecurity Organization, as the member of the board of directors. Thank you for being with us, Csaba.
Hello, thank you.
For myself, my name is Iva Tasheva. I would be the moderator of today's discussion, and I'm a cybersecurity expert myself. Now, I would like to start the discussion with you, Janice. We have, I just share how the awareness of users is very important to be able to create digital society and economy at Europe. And you have a vast experience in this field. Could you please share with us what are the initiatives you work on, and how does this come to the future?
Well, thank you, and I'm very happy to be here. Awareness is very important, and we all know that the person, the human, is the weakest chain in security. I'm working rather in a broader area, looking at the digital citizenship competences and skills, especially with young people. One, because young people are our future, and secondly, because technology is all around us, in our homes, everywhere we go, even driving our cars. So it's important to look at the whole person. However, the COVID, like everyone, had a big shake-up of what I was doing. I've just finished a survey for the Council of Europe. 21,000 parents from 47 countries have responded. We've learned a lot, and I'm bringing that into the awareness raising that I'm doing. Thirdly, I work a lot in Africa, because we know that Africa is thriving, it's moving ahead. That's where a lot of things are going to be happening. So I'm working with governments, especially in Morocco, to try to get a nationwide policy. And lastly, I've been doing a lot of work with Huawei, designing content for remote learning, because the problems have been greater than ever during the COVID period. Zoom bombing, you probably know what that is, but there are many other things. And I've been gathering all of this information to see how can we really help children learn remotely, be excited about learning, even though they only see their teacher remotely. So that's my latest work. As far as awareness raising, I think we're coming to that later. I have a lot of ideas on that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. It's so great to see that so many initiatives are coming together, and we're all as society engaged to empower children as well as the workforce. And here with this, I come to the training part, and I'm looking at Csaba. Csaba, you're also an ethical hacker, and so you come with this experience that is very technical and very deep experience. Can you share with us your perspective on the topic?
Yes, thank you. So yes, I have my technical background, but even with that, I usually classify myself as someone who is really focusing on the human elements and the human inside. So echoing what has been said before, the human is the weakest link. The technological part of the cybersecurity can be very, very devastating. It can be very exposed, and we all seen hacks, and we all heard the news about exploiting different vulnerabilities. But at the end, or actually in the beginning, it's usually the human that causes those security issues, or at least is involved as somehow helping unconsciously, most of the time, helping the attacker to fulfill the exploitation. And then my background, yes, I'm working as head of capacity building at Guardtime, focusing on capacity building for various organizations. But as was mentioned, now I'm here representing the European Cybersecurity Organization. And within the European Cybersecurity Organization, we have a working group that is focused on the human side, so on the training and the education and cyber ranges, cyber exercises. And a little bit on this, this is an industry contractual public-private partnership, so between the European industry members and representative stakeholders, from SMEs to large entities, through government organizations, teamed up all together, more than 250, around 300 members, covering all EU member states. And what we do is actually we give the insights to the Commission, what we would like as industry, what we would like to see to happen, that we believe as industry that would help to raise the cybersecurity resilience all over Europe. And of course, we do our own fair share in doing some research and development of concept initiatives, like we have for the education and training under the EXO umbrella, Use for Cyber, which is a little bit of, I would call it a little bit more than awareness, but less than an educational program or curricula that is in a pilot phase for targeting the youth in the EU. Personally, I am involved in pro bono activities, visiting schools and talking to parents, talking to teachers, and talking to the children from the 1st grade to the 12th grade on cybersecurity issues, mainly from the aspect of a hacker, or why does it matter what kind of password you have, and how these systems work. And from an industrial point of view as EXO, of course, we tackle the bigger issues, how cybersecurity education should be done, what could be the novel technologies, how can we address the skills gap, the lacking professionals from the cybersecurity domain, and which is a global phenomenon, not necessarily just EU-wide, but everybody faces these challenges.
Mm-hmm. And thank you, Csaba, very insightful. Again, you mentioned the skills gap. I have heard here as well awareness for children. What is the biggest issues we still face? What is the biggest challenge we need to work on in the cyber training and awareness field, according to you, Csaba?
Well, let me address this from my very personal experience. So for the last 5 years or a bit more, I have been meeting various people from expert level to the really novice. I want to do something in cybersecurity type of experienced people all over the world, from really from Americas to Asia, everywhere. And when we are doing cybersecurity training, so I'm not talking about awareness, I'm talking about specific trainings like ethical hacker training, or training law enforcement on forensics, and or any type of training that is related to the cyber domain. What I usually see that when we approach professionals, or when professionals approach us that we would like to have a training or we would like to have a cyber exercise on some topic, what we deliver is actually a focused training on a certain skill set, or on a certain addressing a certain skill sets or competence. And what is generally overviewed or not really dealt with is actually the basic layer. Sometimes I feel that we are talking about brain surgery, why people forget to wash their hands, and they don't really understand why they should wash their hands before trying to perform a brain surgery. And in the world of cyber threats, cyber attacks, the amount of attacks happening, or the amount of exploits or actual hacking happening just because of somebody not using the right password, reusing the same password all over the interweb, using fake services, clicking on links, the typical things that all the newspapers are full with. But still people do that. And if we would just change this habit, not reading what we click on, not reusing our passwords, I bet that at least 30 or 40% of the cyber attacks would drop down. So I think that we need a solid foundation, and not just for those who are working in the field of IT, but for the general awareness. Like everybody knows that we need to wash our hands, we need to wash our teeth. Especially during COVID times, everybody takes hygiene a little bit more serious with all this disinfection around. So I think we should start here, and then we can build up on this solid foundation.
Yes, great. This is in retrospective, so we're going back to basics, as you said, to awareness. Makes me think of awareness, cyber hygiene. And Janice, what would then be, if we want to solve this issue, what would then be the key issue we're dealing with?
Well, I get somewhat frustrated when we talk about the word awareness. I wonder how many people really understand the awareness cycle that, first of all, begins with evaluating the public and figuring out what they need. Then we do our awareness, we can call it, but no awareness is complete without a call to action, showing someone what to do about the very specific issue that we're talking about. And then thirdly, or maybe fourthly, it's evaluating the impact and then starting our cycle again. And yet so many awareness raisers don't seem to understand this. I think the second point is these messages are so stupid. We tell children to think before they post. Don't you think they've thought about what they're about to do? And there are so many messages like this which just don't make sense to me. I think that we should really think about strategies more than awareness. And I think they're of the Bob campaign in the Netherlands and in Belgium. Bob is the one who stays sober when you have a party so he can drive people home. And it's something that's followed on, but there's always a call to action that really drunk driving has diminished in these countries. I think also we have to think about digital marketing. I get also frustrated when I look at the way people are trying to raise awareness. In Australia, for example, there is a commissioner, or a minister for e-safety and cybersecurity. Therefore, she has the best people working for her. It's a very solid organization. They have digital marketing strategies. And yet in Europe, we tend to look at civil society to do this. And I don't think there are that many that have actually done training in digital marketing. But marketing, a call for action, is exactly the same as any other form of marketing. And here I must say that I'm delighted to sit on Facebook's International Safety Advisory Board, because there I get a glimpse of the technology that's coming out. I'm able to think about it. I'm able to think about the strategies that parents need. And then I think it becomes much more meaningful. I wish everyone would have this opportunity of seeing all the challenges that are on the horizon and think to the future.
Wow, I couldn't agree more with you about the fact that, yes, message is important, but we also have to deliver it in the right way, and also to know who are we speaking to. So marketing is absolutely crucial, something we have been missing so long in cybersecurity. But why don't we have marketing? Is that the money? Is that the people? Don't we have skilled marketers? Is that cooperation that is still missing to bring those two sides? So what do we need to improve the marketing? Is it government's responsibility?
I think that our problem is that we're all pulling in a different direction. Industry wants to place its products. Parents are passing the buck to schools. Schools are passing the buck to parents. Schools don't even have enough technology. The latest figures I have is that 18 kids in primary school, average across Europe, share one computer in the classroom. How are we really going to do this training that Csaba's been talking about? When are we going to realize that children don't need teaching? In fact, teaching doesn't really exist. They need to be motivated to learn. They need a call to action to learn, the equipment, the role models, and then they will pick up the right thing. So if we started moving in the same direction, I think that we would go much farther. We're also lacking research. There is very little research that's really serious that's being done, which means that when someone does research every 5 years, you can write 5 books about it, but it's still old research. We move ahead so fast. We need to be doing research all of the time. And for that, multi-stakeholder, parents, children, because they're the one using technology. They're great designers of training materials. I've worked so much with them and have just released a book on this, that they've designed a school manual for 9 to 12-year-olds. I'm amazed at the ideas they come up with. Civil society has to be there as a watchdog, but I think we need all of these people together, all of these stakeholders, and only then will we move forward. And this is why I cited the example of Australia. Set up a ministry about this that pulls all the partners together, and maybe then we'll make real progress.
Okay, this is, I would like to pick up on this point of the ministry later, but I'm curious to hear the reflection of Csaba of what you just said, coming from EXO, which is one of those organizations pulling together the different stakeholders. How do you see it? How effective this is, and what else is needed?
I fully agree with the concept, and a lot of things are buzzing in my mind at the moment. So one thing, yeah, EXO is a place where the different stakeholders are joined and united. On the other hand, it's not an authority, it's not a governmental institution, it's a private entity, and the EU has solid foundations on democracy and how. I don't want to sound political now, so I'm trying to use the word original meaning, how liberal EU approaches the rights of each member state. And education is actually handled by each member state individually, which might create a couple of friction. And so what I mean, there might be a really good education in the UK or in Finland or in Estonia per se, regarding digital issues, cybersecurity awareness. There have been already pilots in Estonia, I think a year ago, where they started awareness as soon as kindergarten, just the basic, to grab their attention, because most of the kids at kindergarten are already familiar with technology. They can use a tablet or a phone or PlayStation or whatever. On the other hand, if somebody in a different country, in Italy or in France or in Hungary, has a different type of education, cybersecurity is not involved in their curricula, and it's not advertised or marketized, or there is no campaign behind, real added value campaign behind, then we create the weakest links. So some of the nations might be really advanced and progressed, which is good for the economy, by the way. But from a security perspective, it's really hard to create this separation that, okay, I will not buy anything from a Hungarian IT vendor or a digital supplier because the cybersecurity in this or that country, not to name any countries, this or that country might not be at the same level as my country. And there is no enforcing regulation, there could be financial vehicles or financial incentives to enforce such behavior, but there are not any. And this is just one segment. The other segment is that IT is such a complex domain that usually people who are approaching IT, they only understand that much from the IT domain as they use from it. So for someone who is using mainly Office applications during her work, that's how much he or she will actually encounter from it. Some internet, some mobile usage, and writing documents and answering emails and posting cute cat pictures on the internet. And that's it. And there are those people who need to be a bit more advanced. And none of us, none of us three, and I'm pretty sure that not even today's children, the really young one, get familiar with the technology in a way that they are taught, and sorry for using teaching as a word or phrase here, but they are not taught how to use that. So we grew up with the technology. Suddenly, in my case, behind the iron wall, there was computer. And we were happy that we could run a game on it from a floppy disk, and then we started to use it. And this is basically how kids today start to use technology. There is mom's or dad's phone, then I have my own tablet or phone or whatever, and then I just use it. And then they are already a user when we, as adults, start to think that, okay, we should do something about it. We should tell them not to click here, there, or have these conversations. While back to my physical example, we teach our kids or children pretty soon, pretty early age, that do not talk to strangers, do not lick your hand when you were playing outside, do not touch this, the dog might bite, the knife is sharp, wash your hands, teeth, whatever. So it's not at the same level. And I think one of the main differences is that physical threats and physical things are much more understandable for a cognitive mind than virtual and things that cannot be seen, invisible threats, somebody stealing email. It's not something that somebody goes into somebody's house and is robbed or a wallet is lost. It's just digital data, zeros and ones, and I still have my email. Somebody else has them too, or has my picture. So it's not this, the level of threat recognition is not at the same.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so what you spoke about schools, we all know this happens at very regional, if not national level. And we have a question here from the audience regarding the national authorities. What is the support you and we need from national authorities to have the digital workforce for 21st century?
Yeah, I think that it's very good to take a look at the World Economic Forum. Every 5 years, they come up with the top competences, the top skills that people need to thrive in our information society, we can call it. What are the top ones? Critical thinking, collaboration, creativity. Little by little, The technology is disappearing. It's becoming part of life. Okay, I didn't grow up with technology, but if you use it all the time, you can very easily learn. But children need from birth, because they are already watching cartoons at 11 or 12 months, they need guidance. It needs to be exploration driven with parents. Parents need to take on this responsibility. Then we get to school. Do you know that trainee teachers are still not learning how to use technology correctly in schools? It's not part of many countries' trainings. And yeah, education is up to every country, but surely that should exist. The curriculum, how can we teach literacy, which is meant to be using today's tools in a contemporary way to express our ideas? So how can we do this with a pen and paper? Maybe we can just go back to chalk and our slate. I think these are all the things. We need business involved in developing the curriculum so that it's realistic. We need to teach children how they can learn remotely, exploration driven, new teaching modes where really that teacher becomes the mentor, the coach. I'll stop there, but I think there are so many things to do that we could spend a whole day on just looking at how we could go about it.
And we have a question as well, follow-up question on that. You mentioned industry companies, and so from your experience, how much the companies are engaged and really truly doing their best to educate the future generation?
Well, I think that, yes, I'm involved with a lot of companies. As I said, I'm on Facebook's board, I'm on Twitter's international board. I've worked a lot with Google. I've got them excited about my publications. I believe that industry, we have to educate them like anyone else. We have to show where we're going, and we can't be afraid to open up and say, hey, this is where we'd like to go. What we really need, though, and I think I'm getting it with Huawei, this may be very controversial, but when I say I think we should be doing it this way, this is how much it will cost. These are where the experts are. This is an innovative way to go about it. They actually listen. They let us lead them, and we also get input here from teachers. Well, I was a teacher myself once, way back in the 60s. We get input from the lawyers, specialists in this area. So I think we all need to work together, and yes, industry has to be right there in the heart of it.
Okay, so if I pick up one thing as well, new to the discussion, is that we have to listen. Governments have to listen, industry have to listen, and we as individual citizens and experts, we need to listen what problems users are facing, and to be able to help them increase their skills and awareness. This brings me to Csaba point as well of the limited scope of IT, so expertise, and then how can we, Csaba, how can we expand this? How can we bring these soft skills and these different, let's say, innovative thinking to the workforce today?
Oh, that's another 40-minute discussion. Yeah, I think one of the core problems lays back way into history. So how this whole internet and how the whole IT infrastructure is built over the last 50 years or so. And security was not in mind when this whole core technology was designed. And we have this legacy system that has been used for the last 50 years. And we will not be able to change that very soon. So that's for the problem part. For the IT development and innovation part, like it has been said, we have to listen. So industry has to listen what can be done. Academia has to listen what industry wants. And the personal interests, or the organizational interest or the business interest of the various organizations or nations have to be a little bit aligned what I wish to do, where I wish to go. Like the example of Finland, where Microsoft said that, okay, we want to help to develop, or not develop, sorry, we want to help to educate or train 20 or 25,000 AI experts in the upcoming years. So that's a clear goal, and of course there's a corporate interest in that doing so. On the other hand, it enables the country to have a lot of experts in a really interesting area. And then there are those Russian, there are those North Korean, Japanese, or even in the Europe, in the US, those really highly talented and educated and focused areas where education and training is available. From a security perspective, we have to think of, and it's our duty, and I think it's our everybody's interest to address those areas that are not that developed, and not just from a market exploitation point of view, not just from a commercial point of view, but to enable them with tools and technologies that are secure to use. And if the user, it's hard to educate the user or train the user due to different circumstances, then we should come up with regulations, and we should enforce corporate behaviors that enables the user to behave safely. Simple example for that is the regulation in the state of California, where they issued a regulation that each device manufacturer has to enforce the change of default password the first time the user plugs in the device or starts the device, which can still lead to password reuse or etc. But still, there is one step where the user can make a decision. And we have a lot of examples like that. So I really have high hopes that we're moving in the right direction. The pace is a little bit slow, but I guess such things take time, and there are a lot of good people and good initiatives out there, and I think that change is on the way.
Great. This is very positive message. Before we wrap up today's session, I want to come back to the ministry part. I am personally in Brussels, in the heart of Europe. So I wonder what is the role of Europe? Can it be this ministry? What do we need to do at European level to achieve security?
I was involved in a very interesting experience in Luxembourg, where in 2000 they realized that they really were not integrating technology across society. What did they do? They chose 10 experts and they set up the e-Luxembourg task force with 3 years for us to get Luxembourg online in a very safe way. If you look now, Luxembourg is really in front of the field. How did it do it? It allowed grassroots projects to submit their projects to the task force. The task force then analyzed the projects, helped the government decide which ones would be financed, and then oversaw the projects to fruition, to completion. I found that extremely successful, but I'd say also for the individual, if I'm where I am today, it's because I've done several trainings, pedagogy, law, technology. Everyone needs several trainings in their life, and we have to get over this idea of just having one type of training. I also greatly, I think that a think tank in this area could be really effective, and a European think tank that actually interacts with other countries like Canada, who have been really great on privacy by design. So for me, a think tank would be a great step forward. And then I always think, when I see we're swamped with so much information, T.S. Eliot said about 70 years ago, in the information, where is the wisdom? And it's a question I keep asking myself. How do we help people get the wisdom out of everything that we're seeing and that other people are writing about all the time?
Great, thank you so much, Janice. I think this closure, it's very good message of Csaba, that there's a bright way ahead, and the view giving the think tank idea. So if policymakers and industry and everyone is listening us carefully, what we have passed the message today, we should listen to each other. Perhaps we could work together to make it happen in the near future. I would like to thank you so much to both of you, Csaba and Janice. We are running out of time, but we have a very fascinating discussion. So I would be keen, of course, if we bring this discussion offline, and also maybe with the audience through social media to engage through the conference. I think we have so much more to say. With this, I would like to thank the audience as well for being here with us, for listening, for sending your questions and engaging. And I would pass the floor now to James to close today's conference. Thank you, James.
Yeah, no, thank you, Eva, and thank you, Csaba, also, and thank you, Janice. Lovely to see you again, albeit virtually. And really appreciate the participation from you all in this discussion, and for delivering, as has been often the case today, actually, such a concrete set of punchy messages for what is a fundamental part of the overall digital health of our economies and our societies. So thank you very much for being with us today. Much appreciated.
Pleasure is on my side.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Yes, great pleasure.
That's the event for today. We're back tomorrow at 10 when the platform will open for networking. And we'll be covering sessions on AI security, social media. We'll be looking at terrorism and radicalization, borders, migration, customs. So a big day ahead tomorrow, putting it lightly. And as I mentioned a little earlier, you can catch up on all the sessions from the day via our YouTube channel. You can search for Forum Europe on YouTube, and we'll also place a link a link to the playlist in the chat here on the events platform. We'll leave the platform open for around another 30 minutes to enable you to use some of the networking functionality that exists, and also to dive into the expos if you haven't done already, if you have the time to do so. So with that, I look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow, and thank you once again to everybody who's participated today. And as I say, see you back here tomorrow bright and early.